Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it, and we've had an off week. And, hopefully that our kids did a good job. We worked a lot on fundamentals and things we need to do. We also, gave them some time off. I think they needed it, from a mental capacity and a little bit of fatigue, and I think our kids have responded well and had a good practice on Sunday, and looking forward to the rest of the week and certainly Saturday. So with that, any questions?
Did you feel like you had to handle this bye week a little bit differently than you did the first bye week after Michigan, partly because of what happened at Illinois?
No, I don't think it was different in the fact that where we're at in season, and we adjusted recruiting a little bit because I wanted to make sure we gave our kids Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off, and Wednesday and Thursday I wanted to do a little bit more preparation towards Iowa, and get us ahead of things a little bit. So that was a little bit different approach. We didn't give them as much time, but we needed it. I mean, you can tell when kids are fatigued a little bit, and so we needed to get them back to playing fast and get them going. So we were careful with them, but we felt like we needed to kind of move forward there. So we were smart in recruiting and preparation for the kids.
Practice outside all this week in preparation for Saturday, or how do you handle that?
No, I don't think that, we'll be outside, today. And, I mean, as far as the preparation and things of that nature is that we've been out in the cold, the heat, and so forth. So, we might, if there's a situation like Friday, sometimes, we go inside just because, to have better focus and so forth. But, it won't be any different than what we've done in the past. And with our situation not having two practice fields, sometimes like our defense may be inside today so we can throw the ball, down the field and things of that nature. So sometimes we're inside because of our situation not having two fields. So sometimes you see us inside, but not all of us are in there. So, but offensively, we'll be outside.
Coach, Iowa defensively seemed to start pretty slow, but they're coming on. Can you talk about their defense and how?
Well, I think their team's always been that. If you follow Iowa in the past, is that they always are a football team that gets better. Everybody says things, and all of a sudden they just keep going in the direction. So I think that's the nature of who they are and the job coach does. But from a defensive standpoint, they've got two. They've got their defensive line is very, very good, and their two D tackles down the middle make them special. I mean, those guys are hard to handle, and not very many people have handled them. And they're playing young linebackers, and they've gotten better each week, just like some of our freshmen have gotten better the more they play. And they're very well coached. I mean, I've just watched 6 games of third down and 7 or more, and you can count the number of numbers that people have gotten first downs in those situations. So we better stay out of third down and long, or we'll be in trouble. So there's things they do that they just do a great job of scheme-wise and coaching that makes them good. But it's also the strength and the size. But that's who Iowa's been for a long time.
How much? Go ahead.
You talked a lot about fundamentals during the bye week and all that. And one thing Mitch mentioned last week was just getting from the huddle to the line of scrimmage quicker. And it might seem like a small thing to us, but is that kind of a point of emphasis for you guys?
Well, I think a lot of it's just timing, trying to develop some timing, and getting in and out gives him more time to make decisions and checks and those kind of things. And, I just think it's a part of little things like that are important. Using your hands. Iowa does a great job with their hands. And, as an offensive lineman and defensive lineman, you can use those hands. You got to keep them in. But, getting your right hand in a run play to the right, from a receiver, not raising up on a hitch route or a comeback route. The great players, fundamentally are so sound you don't know what they're doing. So I think that's what we mean by fundamentals, from route running to, low pad level, etc.
How much has Drew been able to practice this last week?
Drew
kind of
Wolfowski? Yeah. He's not practicing at all. He is very questionable, and I don't think he'll play. So I just don't think that, we've got 2 or 3 like that right now. So.
Where does that leave You at wide receiver, are you still contemplating taking a red shirt off, or are you kind of good to go?
I'm trying not to think about it right now. It's Tuesday, so we've been repping a couple guys, but you know, that's hard. It's hard to do this late. So, but you say that we got 5 games left too, counting this one. So we'll have to see, and a lot of it has to do is how Drew's going to come along. You know, I don't know where he's going to be. So
The progression that Logan Hutton has made, does he fit into that mix a little bit?
yeah, we've got 5 or we've got Eric Carter. We got some guys there, and they'll step up and do a good job. It's just you can't afford any. You can't afford anything else to happen, but that's part of the decision making when you're trying to figure out what you do. Yeah, we got a core group of guys that are 5 guys that we'll be fine, but we're losing a guy that's been getting better and better, and at this point in time anyway, and his physical size. But the pool or 5, if we lose one more in there, then you're really stretching things a little bit.
How do you figure that team out? They lost to Iowa State. They barely beat Northern Iowa. They had a field goal to win at the end, and Maryland kind of completely outplayed them. But the last 3 games, they scored 30 points in all 3 games. What's turned the team around like that?
Oh, I think that as coaches, I think that's how things go sometimes. And when you're dealing with young people and so forth, you get on a roll, you gain confidence, and Iowa's always done that. I mean, they've always, and they've gotten better as the year goes on. A quarterback's playing at a very high level, and they're a team that always seems to get better as the year goes. Everybody starts to question, and then they roll it off, and all of a sudden they got 9, 10 wins. I mean, that's a credit to their coaching staff. They just stay with what they do. They don't panic. They don't listen to anybody outside. They just keep doing what they do, and their kids believe in what they're doing. You can watch that by film.
I'm sure Mitch had some throws against Illinois he wants back, but would it be fair to say that you'll take what he did in the first 3 Big Ten games from him for as long as he's here?
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't say that with anybody. I want, we got a lot of room. Mitch will be the first one to tell you he's got a lot of room to improve. All our guys got a lot of room to prove. We certainly don't want to take any steps back, but, he's certainly, moving forward. But, we all got, including myself, I've been in for 31 years, and I'd hope to think I'm going to be better as it goes and keep getting better. But, where he's at right now and where he's going to be, I think there's a huge difference, just like a rookie going into the NFL. You got a young man right here in our hometown, Teddy Bridgewater, they're going to bring him along. Got great offensive coordinator, but it takes time. There's ups and downs and so forth, and that kid's going to be a great great player, but it's going to take time, and there's a lot of room. I'm sure Coach say to improve there, and we've still got a lot of room to improve, with Mitch as we go.
Is it one thing that, with your experience with young quarterbacks, that kind of the consistency is what comes?
Yeah, I think the consistency and being able to read all the coverages, that's not easy to do. Getting in the right checks, throwing off the blitz, making that big throw. It's just, but most of it is reading coverages and being able to handle all the stuff at a full speed situation. Being able to handle pressure, the pocket collapses, being able to get out of it, not take a sack, all those things. Throwing the ball away when you need to. If it's 3rd down, you force something, and they pick it or whatever. Hey, it's not bad to punt sometimes. So you got to be smart, and that only comes with maturity and playing. I guess the best example is David Cobb, as a running back. How he's improved and gotten better. He had a good year last year, but he's better this year. So I just think that's the way you approach every player. And same with Mitch.
This game starts off a pretty rough stretch to close out the season. Is it daunting at all to play 4 straight games are going to be pretty tough?
Don't really think about it because, when we got scheduled a long time ago, we knew. We talked to our kids about it, and that's the way it is. So, all we do is, concentrate, and literally, is this game is a rivalry game. It means a ton to our state. It means a ton to our university, you know, and where we're at right now. You know, it's a big game, and so I think that you literally concentrate on that, and then you go to the next one. And you know, as you look through, you know, we played TCU, who I think is ranked 6th or 7th in the country. You know, so we all knew we had a tough schedule to start, so we just take them one at a time, and I think our kids understand that.
Understanding Cobb's had such a great year, but Roderick, I think, is 3 straight games with 0 carries. I mean, a lot of that's David Cobb, but anything with
No, he hadn't done anything wrong. You got David Cobb, and you know he's played well, and you know there may down the stretch here different game that we're in or so forth. He you know may play more, but I mean it's one of those things where you know David's played awfully well, so Roderick hadn't done anything wrong. You know, he's playing on special teams, etc., and he'll be ready if his number's called. He works hard every day, very hard.
What do you think of the Jonah Persich and his performance in Illinois? I know Van Lauer's out, and he might play a little bit more Jonah in the next
Well,
game.
he may start. You know, we'll have to see how Ben Lauer is. You know, and he hadn't practiced at all, so we'll see how. You know, we've had kind of revolving doors in the offensive line, so but we'll see how he. You know, Ben's going to practice a little bit today, but Jonah's improving every week, and he played sick too. I mean, he was. You know, halftime he wasn't doing very well, and you know he knew he had to stay in there and play, and you know so he's gotten better. He's gotten better every week, and he's a young player, but he's big. And I thought he had Sunday. He really had a good practice. I mean, he really did a nice job. So, the more you play, you know, more success you have, the more confidence you gain. But you know, it's we certainly need him right now. We need him to come through. There's no doubt about that.
How's Connor Mays coming along?
You know, again, he's a guy that with our situation at guard is that, you know, you don't want to throw somebody in there, but we had to do what we had to do, and so he needs to, you know, we need to get him coached up because he's going to have to give us some minutes, and he's done a good job, and you know, it's just like anything, we gotta, you know, we gotta just do it, you know, because he did against two darn good defensive tackles, but. Again, with injuries and things like that we've had, I mean, we just it's put a kids have stepped up, done a great job. We wouldn't be where we're at, but when you have all that in offensive line, start 3 different guards and all that stuff, it's hard to build that continuity. And you see NFL teams all the time with, you know, because of the communication that goes on, you know, from snap to snap, you know. So it's with that depth factor and where we're at, wish we wouldn't have had to do it, but. You know, we had to, and so there we're at. There was where we're at.
What goes into
time
that?
for a couple more?
What goes into that red shirt decision when you're doing it that late? I mean, is that something where you bring the kid in and do you present it to them like this is what we want to do, or this is what we're going to do?
No, I think you always talk to the kid, see if he's ready to play, and you know, so I mean, I think you know I talked to him earlier, and he goes, Coach, I got to get better at pass pro. You know, these kids are. You know, got to get better at pass pro. And then when we had situation, I said, "You think you're ready to play? What do you think, Coach? I think I'm ready to play now." So I mean, you know, a lot of that's you know, kid, where you're at, communication. You know, so pretty much how we've always dealt with it. We've made a lot of good decisions. Every once in a while, you go back and you go, "Oh boy, I wish I," you know. But right now, until we get, you know, we've been here. You know, this is going on our 4th year, and, you know, this will actually be our 4th recruiting class because when we got here, we were scrambling. But it's one of those deals until you get it all built up. And if it was in a perfect world, I'd redshirt. I wouldn't have maybe played 2 freshmen this year. And that's how you build up depth. But, you know, we're in a situation where we're scrambling to continue to do that. Hope next year's class, the way things fall, that we can – you know, maybe redshirt a few more people, but situations dictate that. We've had, I don't know how many, you know, 8, 9 guys that have major surgery, and you have that. You got to do what you got to do. And the young kids we played, I mean, they've done okay, you know. But you look down the road, just like you love to, you know, out of the senior class, you look at Cedric Thompson, you know. Boy, I'd like to have him back for another year, you know. You look at Derek Wells, if he had been able to, red shirt maybe physically, you look at all that, but we had to do it. So.
Did you get a lot out of last week, and were you able to hone in on Iowa earlier, or how do you handle that when you have a bye week, but you know the opponent?
Yeah, the first bye week, we were all out on the road, and there was 2 or 3 of us stayed in, ran practice, and really didn't spend a lot of time on Michigan, very little. We did a lot of film work and so forth, but on practice field we didn't do as much, more fundamentals. This bye week, we spent less time because we couldn't. You're only allowed so many times on the road. We did that. This one, we're able to not only do our preparation, but we were able to do a little bit more on Iowa on the 2 days that we practice, or the days we practice.
Do you have any more questions?
Weissman's put up a couple big games against Gophers. Can you talk about him? Like what kind of threat he poses and how you plan to contain him?
He's put a lot of good games up against a lot of people. He's a good football player, 245 pounds, and if I had a film, I'd show you what, offensively, they run the outside zone, 2-back zone, as good as anybody. And they run the same thing, and they'll adjust it a little bit, but they'll run it, and lead the fullback up there, and he can hit the seams. They get a lot. They run wide zone, they stretch it, and he just hangs in there real patient and lets the linebacker run over the top, and then he sticks it, and and he does it. He does a great job. That's why, from a defensive standpoint, we have to be big time disciplined. Everybody's got to do their job. And if we don't do it, you got to stay in the gap. Linebacker's got to stay in his gap, and you got to be. They make you be disciplined. So, and that's what makes him good. They just keep coming at you, and then they try to make you make a mistake, and then they take advantage of it. So, thank you.